You have a pair of scissors I can use, or do you know where some are?
I have some in my room.
I'm gonna cut this thing open.
Okay.
Come here. Where is it? Come here. What are you doing?
Here you go. These are the only
Thank you.
scissors I have.
What's up, guys? How are you? Good morning, RMC. Good morning, Bob. I'm working on one of those lawn ornament and blow up floaty things. Nicholas, hello, hello. Alex, Mr. Big, what's up, Mr. Bigby? Jacob, Michael, good morning. JMC, good morning. A lot of people were asking me to go live again just to chat with you guys, let you guys talk with each other and stuff like that, and just see if you had any automotive questions that you wanted answered, and don't talk about anything specific. So that's why we're here today. Just kind of hang out a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can fail at repairing this. It's like one of those plastic snowman things that blow up in your front yard. We think that like the mailman or somebody came along, or one of the kids in the neighborhood playing in the yard. It's a Pennzoil Ultra Day, Toenail says, and that is correct. Pennzoil Ultra would happen to be my favorite oil overall, so I cannot deny that. But what I can say is this right here, these results was eye-opening. Good morning, Nate. Blue. Wes. It's kind of funny though, because whenever you look at what Project Farm did, whenever Project Farm was looking at the Pennzoil line, he tested Pennzoil Full Synthetic, Pennzoil Platinum, and he tested Pennzoil Ultra. Ultra did better than the other two. Pennzoil Platinum came in third, and Pennzoil Full Synthetic actually came in second. So he tested Pennzoil Full Synthetic to test better than Platinum. And a lot of people message me all the time and they're like, hey, I run Pennzoil Platinum, and I have to often reference, hey, have you seen Project Farm's video on the different additives between the three? He did get all three tested, and it came back that Platinum was not as good as the Full Synthetic, but Ultra was better than all of them. Hey, can you close your door, dear? I'm live right now. Jenna?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. What about Pennzoil versus Castrol Edge? What brought that comparison up, if you don't mind me asking first? Why are you asking about Pennzoil versus Castrol Edge? What would bring that up? Just out of conversation. Are you just curious, or she is having fun? Her girlfriend and her other friend that she hasn't seen in a while, like months, have finally come back to the neighborhood to stay with Grandma and Grandpa across the street. So they're over visiting right now. Hey, if you guys wouldn't mind, there's 54 of you. If we can get more people in here, if you thumbs up the video, like the video, or something like that, it helps us actually get the video that we're live right now out to other people so they can be here to ask questions and hang out as well. So if you don't know how to do it, you may have to go back and thumbs up the video and then come back in. It's up to you, but we got 54 people. There should be a lot more than 15. I just put in Royal Purple in my 2004 Grand Cherokee. Yeah, Royal Purple's good stuff, man. I mean, it's pretty mellow. It's not real. It doesn't shear very easy, so it's really, really good. The chat is going so fast. 22 Mustang 10 speed, violently jerking in sport mode. It's had a PCM update and adaptive values. Yeah, you might have to get your CDF drum, your 710 pack looked at. Normally the copper sleeve inside the 710 pack will start to shift, and it will cause fluid bypassing and the hard shifting and erratic shifting. So it's either typically a valve body issue or the copper sleeve in the 710 drum. Any issues so far with the 22 Maverick? Received mine and it had a ton of surface rust, and they had to resurface. These things sit for a while. It just all depends on what's being built. You may have the vehicle completely built, but one or two missing components, and they may have to come back to it and finish it. I don't want to make fun of, or I don't want to make excuses for manufacturing right now, but honestly, this is the world we live in now. So if you're buying a new vehicle and it's not something that's moving all the time, and you're not doing your research to see if the manufacturer's producing, you're kind of at the mercy of the manufacturing in general. Let me see. Why did my comments disappear? Let's see, live chat. There it is. Yeah, the Maverick overall has been a pretty good vehicle. The only thing that you got to worry about is the electronic stuff for the main part. The 2.5 liter hybrid, we had that under hood fire thing where you had to drill a bunch of holes and stuff like that, and then we had the issue with different electronic components and stuff having to be reprogrammed. But overall, I would probably say it's one of the most reliable vehicles on the road. They do have on the other line the Bronco Sport and the Ford Escape right now. They're worried about fuel injectors cracking. There's some kind of safety campaign out on that as well. There's like 500 and some thousand out of 630,000 just here in the United States alone on that issue. That's a lot, CV axle on the passenger side. It's kind of funny because a lot of new Ford vehicles are having CV axle issues, especially the Explorers from the 2020, 2021s. The CV axle bellows are splitting left and right on those clamps. And at first it was just the cop cars, but then it started to bleed over into the passenger cars as well. And now we're starting to see the passenger cars are having the same issues that the cop cars were having. And then I have a video out. There's a pending TSB to be released through Ford. And it's on the CV axles clicking and popping in the back of the new 2020 and above Explorers, where the surface tension in between the splines on where the splines go through and actually mate with the wheel bearing assembly, the surface tension is too tense, and what ends up happening is you go to rotate forward and it breaks that little bit of surface tension and makes a tinging, popping sound. So basically what I did was, instead of replacing the CV axles that I see other technicians doing all the time that doesn't fix the problem, it ends up coming back a few months later, 6 months later, doing the same thing, is I actually pull the CV axles back out of the hub assembly and I lubricate and clean everything, and then lubricate inside the wheel bearing assembly, slide everything back together and put a new CV axle nut and retorque it all back down, and that takes care of that tinging, popping sound in those Ford Explorers. Good morning. We never should have allowed ourselves to be dependent on foreign parts, and now everything is imported, I believe. I agree. Advisor void my warranty. I don't understand what you're... Rich, I have a 2019 Ford Raptor with a Ford ESP out to 100K, and I want to put an intercooler in tune. Will the service advisor void my warranty? Intercooler won't void your warranty because you're making it better, you're not making it worse. And if you do change the way the vehicle operates, yes, you can get your warranty. If you tune your vehicle, there can be some issues with the warranty because it's not the way the manufacturer intended it to be. So anytime you modify a vehicle like that, where it comes to transmission or engine related, we cannot confirm nor deny that it can either make it better or make it worse based on somebody else's opinion or some other company's review. If you change the way the engine or transmission functions, it can go either way. It can go north or south on that whole deal. So you're playing with fire at that point. Now, when it comes to an extended service contract and not a OE service contract of some kind, most places are not going to void that warranty. my F-150 needs new wheels. It absolutely does not need new wheels. It's got new tires on it and a set of junk '09 to 14 rims, and it's going to stay that way. It doesn't need new wheels. Why do you refer to a F-150, a big truck, compared to a half-ton GMC? Huh. Leave him alone for a second, guys. This is the same guy that was trolling not too long ago. Just let him go. Let him be. It so I didn't refer to the truck as a big truck. That was my daughter that referred to it as a big truck, and my old lady that referred to it as a big truck. And the reason that the story was being told, that you guys like to troll on and you guys like to try to make somebody else's life more miserable, is because your own life is obviously, it sucks. And whenever my little girl said, "Daddy, can we drive the big truck instead of the GMC?" Well, the GMC is just a half-ton SLE with no four-wheel drive, no nothing. The F-150 is lifted a little bit, and then I put the 2-inch level kit on it, and it's got the 33s and stuff on it, and it's four-wheel drive. And she just sees it as a bigger truck in general, that's all. It's very common sense. For one of these people to try to come over here to the channel and try to troll and stuff like that and be like, "Why are you calling that a big truck? You don't know what a big truck is." It's like, bro, you don't have nothing else to do with your life. You really don't. Can't you go play with your old lady or something like that? Can't you go do? I mean, you'd rather be here playing with me. I mean, I'm honored, but at the same time, I've got better stuff to do. Anyway. Yeah, and people are just stupid on here, man. People are miserable on here, and they try to do whatever they can to try to pick and poke and make fun of you. And some, a lot of people do it because they're jealous. A lot of people know that I have a very good life, and they just want to try to cause chaos. That's all. No, don't ban him. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. I'm trying to do less of that banning stuff and just let people make an ass of themselves, and then maybe eventually they'll see that I'm actually a sincere guy, and I'll do whatever it takes to help them if they just learn to act right. Normally, until it gets out of control, I don't really ban them no more. I mean, she sees me doing this stuff to that truck all the time. She's asking me, "Daddy, could you do this? Could you do that? Could you do this? Could you do that?" And I explain all kinds of stuff to her. She sees me bring the Black Cobra Tough Book home, and I'm doing programming and stuff like that, and I'm sitting here doing my school studies and listening and talk about cars and everything. I mean, and you could get banned too. If you're here just trying to start crap just because, you can get banned as well. I think a lot of people need to understand that there's a fine line between your free speech and what I have to hear or see. When you're not in control of what's going on, you don't really have a say-so. Now, I agree with free speech to an extent, but when you start going to affect somebody else's life and cause issues, and you are trying to be an asshat about stuff, your free speech is no longer valid to me. Now your free speech is not being put to use to actually to voice and use that free speech constructively. Free speech doesn't mean that you just go spout off at the mouth and do whatever you want with no consequence. Sometimes there's consequences for free speech. And if you are trying to affect somebody else's life negatively by name calling and trolling and trying to make them lose their job or something affect their family or something like that, you don't deserve that free speech, because the consequence is it may be taken away from you on a platform, or somebody may take them teeth because of that free speech. People have lost their lives because of that free speech. We have a whole country that fought wars and stuff over trying to defend people's rights and stuff like that. So I would pick and choose how I use my free speech, because you clearly don't know how to do it appropriately. I'm Antifa. I I'm the furthest thing from Antifa. I don't give a hell about an Antifa at all. For all I care, those Antifa clowns can just jump off the face of the earth. I don't really care about them. Knuckles, I'll address who I feel like I need to address. Bob, just get rid of Gord. Get rid of Gord. If he's going to keep causing problems, get rid of him. And get rid of that other Ian guy, too, just get rid of him. You guys need, you guys also have to understand that when you guys tell me not to do something, or when you're trying to tell me, oh, you're feeding them, it ain't up to you. It's up to me to address these people how I need to address these people, or feel like I need to. So I know you guys want to be mommy hen and daddy hen, but just it doesn't help you at all. You should just not do it. It's not a political channel, T. You obviously are behind on what's going on. Uh, I don't understand why are we going this route? Everybody shut up about all this other crap. Seriously, shut up. Everybody shut up about the all this other stuff. Moderators, do your job. Do what you think you need to do. You don't need me to approve anything. Just do it. And let's talk about car stuff. I don't care about any of this other stuff these guys are talking about. There's 94 people in here and there's 58 thumbs ups. We want more people in here to talk, then we need more thumbs ups. That's how the video gets out. Now who else do we need? Who else we got? Automotive questions. Glad I found you. I was a Ford tech for 6 years. Glad I found you. Keep up with what goes on in the world. Yep, I'm glad you're here, Frederick. I'm constantly trying to get involved in this stuff all the time, so it's nice to have other people that do the same thing that you do that kind of know what's up in the industry instead of. Let's see if I can move this right here. Let's see here. Yeah, Antonio, ask your question. You ain't gonna ask to ask a question, just do it. Should I get a 5-star tune on my 2019 5.0? Again, we're going back to talking about vehicles that have warranties on them and you guys are wanting to get them tuned. I'm not at liberty to answer that question. You could affect the warranty based on what's there. You know, if you don't care about the warranty stuff, then yeah, I get it. It would probably be great. Good morning from Cleveland, Ohio. How can you tell if you have both factory keys for a remote start? I want to install. I mean, if you have two keys and they both work, then you have two factory keys. That's all there is to it. How to keep my rotors from rusting when not driving my Explorer for long periods. Drive the vehicle once a week. Get out, take out the brakes, or drive and hit the brakes and stuff like that. You're not going to stop them rotors from rusting. Real vehicle question. I didn't come from yes. If you were to buy a new F-150 right now, what would be the setup? Oh, I don't know. 5-liter. I don't like the new setups, to be honest with you. I don't like the new 10 speeds. If it was me, it would just be a basic interior 4-wheel drive 5-liter 10-speed. I would get nothing fancy at all because the base model trucks are just as nice as some like the old Lariat trucks from back in the day. So I would probably get like a nicer base model and just leave it at that, and that would be it. Oh, yeah. I'm starting to catch up, guys. You guys don't realize how far behind I am in the comments, the comment section of the videos. I'm just now getting to the comments from like 9 months ago. That's how backed up I am on responding to everything because I can't possibly respond to everybody. Ford has never gotten backup cameras right. Who has though? Who has? Chryslers are trash. Toyotas are trash. Nissans are trash. I think the only ones that I really like is either a Mercedes or there was one brand that I could clearly say that I really liked. And outside of that, they don't really make a good backup camera. Just get rid of Barry, Bob. I mean, this guy keeps up with this crap, man. He's not looking for free speech. The guy's just looking to troll. My 17 Expedition has 94,000 miles on it. Do I need a timing kit at 100,000, or can I go? No. Why would you need a timing kit? You're not ready for a timing kit yet. I mean, I don't understand that. I know a lot of people say there's a service interval in a book for a reason, right? So normally, right at about 120, 140,000 miles, they say you have to start worrying about timing belt, water pump on most vehicles. But I've seen some of these vehicles go 160 to 200,000 miles with the same timing chain, water pump plus. There was a guy the other day said he had 300,000 miles, never changed the water pump or the timing chain on it because he kept the oil changed every 3,000 miles. He said, I never touched an internal component on my engine. All I do is keep my oil changed by every 3,000 miles on it and never have a single internal engine failure. And it saved him thousands of dollars. Good morning. Love the channel, man. Keep it up. Appreciate you. Thank you. My Lincoln just hit 150 the other day. Yeah, Bob's got a nice Lincoln. He changes his oil about every 3,000 miles, sometimes sooner. Inside of his engine is just crystal clean, and it runs absolutely phenomenal. So, is there a new TSB? I've been off work for like 4 or 5 days now, so I ain't been looking at TSBs or any of that stuff. In your dealership, do you have techs that try and keep up with the work you get and your time you're turning? Do you have techs that try and keep up with the work you get and your time you're turning? Well, I mean, I don't understand that question. Daniel, you're going to have to explain that a little bit better. No, nobody at work worries about anything that somebody else does. We don't really care. Everybody just lets each other be, and we just work together. I feed them work, they feed me work, whatever we're good at. I knew that I was going to be on medical leave for a week, so American Mechanical, their fleet vehicle that came in, I took their vehicle and I gave it to one of the other techs because I know he's really good at doing engine swaps. He's rough with some of the diag stuff, but he's really good at engine swaps, and I wanted it to be in the best people's hands possible. So I took a couple jobs and divvied them out, and I took one of them jobs and I gave him that engine swap because I know he's really good at it, and I want my subscriber to be taken care of. So we all work with each other and we all feed each other. They're not worried about what I do or my YouTube stuff or any of that. They think it's kind of cool, because it brings more business in, and people get to see the industry and kind of what we go through. So there's a stigma about social media causing more issues for a company, and it's the biggest falsity that there is. It's not even social media doesn't cause the issues for the company that people think. They're just scared. But when you end up learning how to work with social media and let it build your company, you don't have those issues that people think about. You can mitigate and control the chaos to a point where your business can really start to thrive off social media. No, Antonio, I wasn't, man. The comment section's moving, so if you get it in, you gotta get it in. What are my thoughts on the electrification of vehicles? I drove the Lightning Pro and was quite impressed. I mean, I think the technology and stuff is pretty cool in general, but I'm not for what they're trying to push right now. I think Ford itself is one of the biggest liars in general when it comes to the problems that we're having with new vehicles today. I think Ford, they're trying to do the best that they can to fix the problems that they're having, but there's so much effort in them looking into electric vehicles, EVs and stuff like that, that they've lost a lot of their focus with the vehicles that they're producing now for the consumer. I feel like if I went to Ford corporate, I could do a much better job in the quality control department and trying to figure out what's going on with some of this stuff than the people that they have at play there. there's a lot of things that I'm seeing that I don't care for and like. We're not ready for EV yet. We don't have the infrastructure to support EV yet. Our neighborhoods can't support EV yet. And if we had 10 families in an average 300 people neighborhood, we would literally take down the grid for the neighborhood that we're operating in. It just, we're not ready for it yet. And with there being so many issues that we have with the EV stuff as it is now, from Tesla to Ford to everybody across the board, Rivian, we're not ready for it. We still haven't perfected any of the stuff that we've wanted to perfect in order to make this a public entity or a public supplied product. Really, when you have people like Tesla that's building the air conditioning drain systems where the drain is above the battery and it's dripping on top of the battery, causing issues with the battery, or Ford where the 12-volt battery takes down the entire system and you got to have a jumper pack with jumper cables that you have to take off a plug in the front of the Mach-E and then hook the jumper cables up to the two wires just to pop the frunk so you can take off the plastic assembly on the top to change the 12-volt battery. I'm not for it. I'm really not. Yeah, I mean, it may not be. It's one of the smoothest. Yes, Royal Purple is one of the smoothest oils I've run in an internal combustion engine. Do I know if the 3.5? Well, of course they are. That generation was from 2017 to 2020. There was not, that cam phaser issue doesn't affect the newer vehicles. So, I mean, that's old news though. What we're having an issue with now is the rattle-on startup on the 3.0 liter twin turbo in the Explorer, the 3.3 liter Duratec, and the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. We had one or two F-150s already brand new with less than 20,000 miles starting to rattle on startup, but none of the new 3.5 EcoBoosts. On a 2009 F-150, when the driver's side heated seat button is pressed, it blinks a couple times and goes back off. Likely a problem with the heated seat element? Yeah, more than likely that is the problem. You'll stick with your Kia hybrid? Oh God, don't get me started on Kia. They ain't no better than nobody else. What do I know of a 4A transfer case versus regular? Well, a regular transfer case is operated whenever you take the switch and you have it in too high. It disengages the front hubs. It pulls the IWEs in, and it keeps the transfer case motor in two-wheel drive selection. When you put it in 4 high, the transfer case changes into the range it needs to change in, and then engages the IWEs in the front, or takes away the vacuum to the IWEs, engaging the front hubs, putting it in 4-wheel drive. A 4A transfer case has a clutch system inside the transfer case, where a regular 4-wheel drive system does not have that. And those clutches are applied via a drive that will actuate back and forth. And if it senses wheel slippage via the ABS system or the wheel speed sensors, it will start to engage that clutch hub inside that 4A system, and it will apply 4-wheel drive and then take it away, apply it and take it away, apply it, take it away. I don't like 4A systems. The reason I don't like 4A systems is anytime those wheels are moving at a different rate that the other ones are, and you're turning real tight in a parking spot, or making, a U-turn, or turning around real sharp, and you're moving fast enough, it could start to engage that 4-wheel drive system, and those clutches will start bouncing inside the housing. What'll end up happening is it ends up prematurely wearing out those clutches. So a lot of people argue with me that, well, if the manufacturer's built it that way and it says you can drive that way, it does not say you can drive that way. It says to be in 4-wheel drive, you need to have the right atmosphere to be in that system. A wet, icy, rainy, muddy, snowy road. You don't need to be in 4A for any other purpose. The only reason you would put the vehicle in 4A is if you were on one of those types of roads and you were unsure of the condition that you're in, then you put it in 4A. It ain't to be driven around 24/7 all year. You end up smoking the transfer case that way. Do I like the 5.3 liter with the 6L80E? Yes, I do. I think it's a good setup. I think it's a very reliable setup. What do you think of the 4.6 Terminator motor reliability? It's dynamite. It's a great engine. It's one of the best, probably one of the nicest, most reliable, efficient engines for power that's been produced of all time. 2011 to 2014 3.5 EcoBoost versus a third gen. Well, 11 to 14 3.5 EcoBoost by far. I'm on right now. Yeah, I cut it. It's broken. It's busted up. The motor's busted up. If you're gonna come through, I'll let you come through.
How long are you gonna be?
I don't know. Why?
Because I want to make cookies.
I can go in there. I mean, yeah, I can go in there. It just messes with the internet in there because this internet system is, it's not that great. Well, I wouldn't go as far as saying the 543 valves are trash. I do agree that they're not what they should be, but understanding the 543 valve is first you have to understand the system. What is your problem? 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 So understanding the 543 valve is better than saying, random stuff about it or whatever. Let's talk about the 543 valve a little bit. The 543 valve is the faults with the 543 valve come down to the oil supply system. The tensioners on the 543 valve have paper gaskets on them that blow out. The oil passages throughout the engine are very poor with the 543 valve. They're very small. They're susceptible to carbon and coking and varnish buildup. And a lot of people that like to run synthetic oils a long time end up running into problems where they have a lot of varnish buildup. And they don't realize that a lot of that varnish buildup comes from synthetic oils where they run and they get hot and cold, and hot and cold, and hot and cold. And they try to run them 4, 5, 6,000 miles plus. So 5,000 mile max is what I tell everybody. But that oil starts to almost crystallize inside that engine. And it starts to build up scale inside those passages. And you have to run something like a BG EPR. Or if you look up another product, it's called BG 109. It's basically EPR, but in a quart-sized form. It's about $40 a quart. And it is very, very caustic. And you would flush out that engine once or twice a year with that stuff to keep those passages and stuff cleaned out. Now, the oil supply comes from the driver's side oil filter, and then it goes up the driver's side into the driver's side head, transfers along the cylinder head to the rear, and then crosses over the front of the block, goes down the block, and goes up the back side of the cylinder head on the passenger side, and then it transfers to the front, and then it goes down to the timing chain tensioner. That's one of the reasons why that passenger side tensioner fails more than any other tensioner, because it is the last part of the system to actually be supplied oil. And imagine all that area that all that oil has to go through, and the skill buildup and the things that can be blown out, and oil supply to the rockers on a 543 valve with their little tiny itty bitty oil supply hole. It's one of the biggest failures with a 543 valve. The motor itself ran great when people kept the oil changed every 3,000 or 4,000 miles and kept them flushed every once in a while. That part ran great, and it was actually a very decent performing engine. But nobody maintenance it like it needed to be maintenance because people weren't there to educate people how to keep that engine alive. Would a high volume oil pump help the situation? Yes, it would. You say, hey, Rich, I think I know what will help your internet, man. Just upgrade mine to a mesh system, and it's the bomb. You know, it's weird because we have really expensive internet that is it's really good internet, but for some reason it seems to only be really good internet right in this area, and that's it. I can't go out back on the porch. I can't go out by the garage. You would think that it would, with the amount that we pay for this, that it would be a pretty good system because my old crappy internet, I could go way outside the house and it would still be connected. I could still talk, but here it starts getting all spotty and losing control and or losing. How's the leg? Yeah, my knee is real achy. It's my kneecap. The swelling and stuff is almost completely gone, but my kneecap, it's like popping and it gets real achy and it almost feels like it's this dry, dull pain that just, and it's right behind my kneecap. Is the 1.6 a good engine? No, it's not. Nope. AMSOIL is good oil. I don't have a problem with AMSOIL. I just have an issue with everybody bragging about how AMSOIL is the most wonderful oil that there is made, and that's not true at all. AMSOIL is not even really a full 100% synthetic oil. The AMSOIL engineers even themselves admit that. But the way they make their product is very good. I do like AMSOIL, and I do think it's a really good oil. It's better than most oils out there, but it is not the best oil like people say it is. Uh, Kind of warm. 2007 F-150 5.4 best way to change spark plugs. Really, the cylinder heads are supposed to be at 140 to 160 degrees before they want you to pull them out. And when you pull them out, don't pull them out with a ratchet. Don't go nice and slow or whatever. When I pull them out, I stick my air ratchet or something down in there and just buzz, buzz, pull them right out of there. If they're gonna break, they're gonna break. If you go slow, you have a better chance of breaking them than if you just get them out. No, I never said nothing about being down in Florida this weekend. They wanted me to be down there, so I got invited to go two places: Florida, down there with the guys that you know, and then PRI in Indianapolis. I didn't want to make either one because I had prior commitments to my family. My little one had a couple volleyball tournaments and stuff like that. They've been taxed with running back and forth between games, and I wanted to be here for them. Plus, I'm supposed to be down. You know, I'm trying to heal and get the swelling and stuff in my knee down. There's not a lot I can be going and doing. And I typically only try to get up and do something about 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then I'm sitting right back down again trying to relax. Daniel, 1.5 short block. How quick can I get them done? Oh, I don't rush those jobs. There's too much that can go wrong with those jobs, and there's no point in rushing them. Plus, we have HB 3940 now, so I get paid 1.5 times the labor rate anyway. That job typically pays about 21 hours. I can get it done in about 18, 17 if I'm just taking my time, just kind of cruising right out through it without trying to rush. Sometimes if I'm not wanting to push and just take the full time, I'll take the full time and just relax. You know, I'm getting paid 30 hours to do the job anyway. Thoughts on brake pads? I like to use name brand brake pads to be honest with you, but lately, a company that has pretty much that has impressed me a lot is Power Stop off Amazon. I've seen a lot of people using Power Stop brake pads lately, and I don't know who makes them for them, but they're a really good brake pad. I've had very good luck with them. Is the Nissan CVT better than the DPS6? Got in a fight this morning. Oh, yeah, I would say probably so. The Nissan CVT would be better than the DPS6. The DPS6 about 20, 30,000 miles into it. If you didn't drive that thing like it was intended, no. Let me take that back. Wait a second. Now you put me on the spot, CD. Our diesel tech had a Focus with the DPS6. He never put a single clutch in that Focus until right at 100,000 miles, where everybody else was starting to put clutches 25, 30,000 miles, having to change out the clutches in that DPS6 system. Now, he drove that vehicle like it's meant to be driven. He got in that vehicle and hammered down everywhere he went. And that's how that vehicle is really meant to be driven. That vehicle is not meant to be driven, putzed around and pussyfooted around town and stuff like that, where a lot of people get in, they'll drive real slow. That's not how that vehicle is intended to be driven. That vehicle was built for a young teenager or something going off to college or high school or something like that to get in that thing and just drive it. What I see a lot of people doing is we'll have a lot of older people that are retired or something like that, and they're looking for a small gas-friendly car, and they'll come in and buy one of those things, and they're like, when I go to take off, I feel like it's like it's bouncing a little bit, like shuddering a little bit, and I'll say, let's go for a ride, show me how you drive. And they get in the vehicle and they just barely touch the gas and go to take off. And I'm like, you can't drive this vehicle like that, sir. I apologize for being this way, but can you pull over and I'll show you how you have to drive this vehicle. And then I'll get behind it and I'll nice and just get in the gas. Gone. Not doing any of that shuddering stuff, not bouncing around. Completely different vehicle depending on who drives the vehicle. So it's hard to say. The Nissan CVT, I would, I could honestly say I personally believe like the Nissan CVT would be more reliable than the DPS6, but also at the same time you have to understand the DPS6 to really understand how it's supposed to function. And that vehicle is not meant to be driven slow. Is there a typical mileage where the belt Ford EcoBoost? Is there a typical mileage where a belt is going to need replacement? Nah. What Ford EcoBoost though? And what belt wise what are we talking about? Hey, awesome, Peter. I'm glad it worked. I just had somebody message me the other day. They said we have a 20 or 21 Raptor, and we have an appointment at the dealership. My passenger side smart touch stopped working on my door handle, and I noticed that my interior lights or something like that or whatever don't function quite the same as they did before. And I said, look, before you go for that appointment, let me help you out real quick. Go out to the vehicle, push button start on or key on, but they have a push button start. Button start on. Do not start the engine, just light everything up. Turn the key on and then flash the brights 5 times, hit the brake pedal 3 times and let go. And then wait about 10 seconds and the battery light will flash, 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 flash. And now turn the key back off or push the button, turn it back off, open the door, close the door, wait about 15, 20 seconds, and then go back up and touch that handle on the passenger side. And the dude got back to me like 20 minutes later and was like, oh my God, my truck's working. I don't have to go to the dealer and spend all this money now. How do you know all this stuff? You're like a genius. And I said, no, it's stuff I've learned along the years, man. The vehicle will start to disable features that are not important for the vehicle to run if it detects a degradation in the charging system of some sort. So if there's something wrong with the charging system, the vehicle sat for a really long time before you bought it, and the battery dropped really, really, really low, the BMS needs to be reset, the battery needs to be checked, and then go on about your business. How to make the airflow from rear AC vents. 2018 F-150 King Range. How to make more airflow from the rear AC vents. Make sure in the center of, well, you want more airflow from the rear AC vents, close the vents in the front. Sorry. You want more airflow back there, close your front vents. Or some of them anyway. make sure where your center flow through area in the floor of your truck, if you have a flow through console, there's not really anything you can do about it. Um, hmm. Make sure you or your passenger is not stomping on the floor or they're being aggressive when they get in and out of the truck. Try to look and see if anything is like jammed down into that channel in the floor where the ducting comes from the front and kind of crosses over by the seat and then goes up underneath it. You'll have kids and stuff that will get in the vehicle and they'll stomp on the floors and stuff all the time. My little girl started doing that last night. She was boarding the truck and I was standing outside the truck and I was trying to look at Papa's seat back because I ordered a seat cushion for his GMC Sierra as well because I'm going to recover that one. And I'm standing there and I hear her bouncing her feet on the floor of the truck and I looked over at her and I said, "Are you stomping on the floor of the truck?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Knock that off. Don't do that crap in my truck. That's not going to happen. This is not a toy. This is not for you to be beating on and playing with and stuff like that. This is a vehicle that you should be proud of that takes you from point A to point B." "I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry." And I said, "No, you do that stuff to your own stuff, not my truck." Because I picture her pounding into the floor and crushing the plastic tubing that transfers air and stuff around. And I'm like, huh. I wonder if somebody's getting in the front of your vehicle and stomping all over the floor or something like that, or if something has come loose with your ducting if you don't think it's adequate enough. Close all the vents in the front. If you want more flow in the back, close all the vents in the front. Go to the back. Get a feel for if it's too much, go open a couple vents in the front so you got some airflow up there, and then leave the rest of them closed. It could be like Chris said. It could be a plugged cabin air filter, clogged cabin air filter. It very well could be, but that if it's only rear flow, you'd be complaining about flow in the front too. I mean, I'm sure there could be some deviance there, but wouldn't be just a plugged cabin air filter. You'd have issues in the front as well, and then probably have some odor smell going along with it. What year is best from 94 to 2004 F-250 7.3 as far as reliability? 90. Oh, I don't know. I would probably say the last year, to be honest with you, but my favorite would be like, I think like 97. What is it? 97 was the last year for the OBS body style or something, or 98? 97 or 98 would be my favorite, but most reliable, I would think the newest version. You know, if it went all the way to 2003, 2004, regular 295. Yeah, but around here it's been dropping low too. Did you change the circumference for your tires in IDS or foreskin? You got to do it with foreskin. And when we did the tire conversion for 265 7 or 285 70 17s on the internet, it showed it was 29. Let's just say 29 or 26. It said it was like 2650. So I went in and programmed 2650 in the body control module under tire size in, I don't know if it's like millimeters or something like that. And then I went and drove it. And I was 3 mile an hour over. But before I was 3 mile an hour under. So I was at 2250 and I moved it to 2650. So at 2250 I was 3 mile an hour under. At 2650 I was 3 mile an hour over. So I said, you know what? I'll put it at 2450. Let's see what happens. I put it at 2450 and it was spot on going down the road. 50 you're doing 50, 60 you're doing 60. So I programmed it to 2,450 millimeter tire size. Let's see here. What do you got here? 2011 Escape. Too much interior vibration. Replace motor mounts or just the right hand or combat. Normally it's just the right hand, but
A common issue, yeah, it is. Those are very noisy, they vibrate a lot. They make a lot of noise when you go to take off. You can really hear the transmission, and surprisingly, the charging system in those, in general, is very loud. Didn't that still have E-Pass? Or no, didn't that still have hydraulic? I remember the charging system. You can almost hear like the white noise from it. The power steering, and that was just an annoying loud vehicle. It was a tank. Don't get me wrong, little tanks. If the subframe would stay good, stay in one piece in them, but they were not very comfortable when it came to cabin comfort for the passengers. What do you say? Oh, thoughts on 2004 Sport Track with 4.0 V6. Doing oil changes every 3,000. Doesn't burn any oil. Let the upper oil panels leaking. Do you have to drop? I don't know. I have never done an oil pan in a '04 Sport Track, so I couldn't tell you. I crashed into a curb, driver's side, no noise or clunk. Had the wheels realigned, but the steering wheel's off a bit. Bent tie rods? Well, it doesn't have to be bent tie rods. It could be you have it could be a strut that's bent. Uh, it could be a lower control arm that's bent. It could be tie rod. I mean, you got a number of things it could be. You get Marty Oates tuned for your Grand Marquis? No, I didn't do any of that yet. I've been focusing on so many other things that I just have too many projects going on right now, and I'm trying to make too many people happy. So down here in Houston, we're paying around $2.50 a gallon right now. '03 was last year for the 7.3. I thought it was like '03 or something like that. Having problems with a P0087 low fuel rail pressure. 2013 6.7 have changed high pressure fuel pump lines from tank and sender and filters. Still throws the light under wide open throttle. Well, how's your supply? You can't produce you can't produce enough high pressure if you don't have an adequate supply though. If it's under wide open throttle, you have to make sure your supply is good. Not only just your lines, your filters, and your supply. You're going to have to monitor your low fuel pressure under wide open throttle and make sure it's staying up around 70 psi. And you're going to have to make sure that O-ring down underneath, or the O-rings that seal your fuel filters up, are not twisted and barely able to suck air past them as well. That could also cause the same issue. And don't run an aftermarket fuel filter in those. Have a 09 F-150 with a P0401 cleared code. Now gas gauge doesn't work and 0 miles to gallon on dash. What's up with that? Well, first of all, I don't know what a P0401 means. I don't have like a code encyclopedia in my book. A lot of people like leave me messages like that on the channel, and I'm like, dude, I remember what a lot of them mean, but I don't remember what all of them mean. So if you guys, like, when you leave stuff like that, if you tell me, leave a description of what the code means, it helps me out some. But before I say anything else, Robert, you have to understand that those body style F-150s have an inherent problem with the fuel sender. The fuel sender has a double or triple reed sweep on the fuel pump. And back in the day, they used to have issues with those sweeps getting gummed up, and also portions would fall off of the potentiometer strip inside on the fuel sweep that would cause the issue you're talking about right now. Gauges would drop out. You'd have issues with 0 miles to this and that. Fuel sender would stop reading. It would mess with the cluster like crazy. And it was all because of that gauge sweep back there in the tank. I had one come in not too long ago with 2008 F-150, and I had to put a fuel pump in it because the fuel pump potentiometer sweep was causing issues with the way the cluster was dropping out and reading. When I got everything apart, which the video is on the channel, you can see where I point out how part of the sweep is missing. And that was common on those back in the day. They would either get gummed up, and Ford said you had to run a couple bottles of Chevron Techron, or you had to pull the pump out of it and replace the pump. Will my stock lug nuts work for my STX my STX4 Raptor takeoffs? I don't know about that. They have to have the right taper to fit down inside those rims. Sometimes when I stop, I get a slight thunk shudder. Is that shudder? Maybe the thunk? Yes. Shudder? I don't know. No. 13 F-150 leaking oil from passenger side onto manifold. From passenger side onto manifold. Can you be more specific with location? Replaced vacuum pump on motorcraft, replaced VP gasket 3 times, still leaking onto manifold. Any suggestion? Well, first of all, how did you replace? So, is the oil more coming from the outside by the manifold side, or is it coming from the back by the firewall side, or is it coming from the inside of the valley by the intake manifold? Now, if you replace the vacuum pump on that F-150, you need to make sure that the 2 crevices that overlap the O-ring where the vacuum pump is, you have to put a dab of silicone in both of those corners. If you don't put the dab of silicone in those little corners when you go to slide that vacuum pump on there, it will continue to leak. I use Marvel Mystery Oil from time to time in all my vehicles. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you then. You're gonna have to investigate. That ain't gonna be something that we could really find over unless you got a valve cover gasket. I mean, it would all be speculation if we talked about it right here. P0401 is a EGR or dirty throttle body or BPF sensor body. I'd have to look at it. There ain't nothing I can tell you right here that's gonna give you one specific way of looking at it. If you ain't seen it in a library on the channel, I'd have to look at it. Trevor says, why the EcoBoost versus third generation 5.4 as far as cost per ownership? Will a well-maintained 5.4 still cost less to own due to its pushrod modular design versus forced induction interference engine? Pushrod modular design. What are you talking about? You mean modular design in general? Because the overhead cam versus forced induction. I would still go with the 3.5 over it. Do I still recommend using a fuel cleaner every once in a while? There's some fuel cleaners actually do work. A lot of them don't, to be honest with you. So it just all depends on how bad your system is. Still waiting on the okay to get the crankshaft pin out. Seen the video. I think it will work. Thanks for commenting back last week. Yeah, Daniel, that's how we've done a couple of them like that now. Surprisingly, where that pin shears off of the crank and that gear just wants to rotate on top of it, just buzz the hell out of it real good and just pull that pin right out of there, and then you're good. And then they make the replacement pin as well. Ceratec oil additive. I haven't used it. I don't know. How do I change your blinker fluid? Well, you take your thumb and you go up to the vehicle and you stick it up the tailpipe and then you stretch your arm real far, all the way up to the front of the vehicle, and take the air cleaner tubing, shove it up your ass, and then take your right hand and grab your nose and plug it off and just blow super hard and create all that pressure inside your head until your eyeballs pop out, and then it recirculates back to the front. That's how you do it. I don't think electric cars will make overdue to infrastructure is not ready for it. Government been trying to push electric cars, which is insane. Make sure you go around the corner all the way up to the vacuum pump. Subaru 6-cylinder engine reliability. I don't like really anything Subaru, to be honest with you. It's okay, but I'm just Subaru in general to me is eh. You tried that, but it didn't work. Well, then it looks like you're not a fit candidate for the job. You're going to have to apply for a different position. That if I don't drive my Maverick hybrid at least once a week, it may go into some kind of hibernation mode and become very hard to start. Yeah, I would suppose so. I mean, it is a vehicle that needs to be driven. If you're not driving it, these types of things can happen. William is bugging dog, the old one or the new one. Huh? What? Make sure you go all the way around the corner, all the way up to the vacuum pump. What else we got going on here? Morning, Rich. Quick opinion on a fuel cleaner. I've used Lucas for years. Every other tank. Twice a year. I don't know, man. I used to sell Lucas when I was at AutoZone, and it was a Lucas pays them to push that additive when we knew clearly that there were better additives in the parts store. Chevron Techron being one of the top ones. Marvel Mystery Oil. You know, Lucas was just all a paid for kind of. I almost thought of it as a gimmick. And I'm sure it works a little bit. It does work a little bit, but there's a reason why I stay away from it. You know, I'm not about to buy something that's being shoved in front of my face every time I go into the parts store. You know, so I stick to the old school Marvel Mystery Oil stuff. It works. You know, if you use Lucas, use it. It's up to you. Obviously, I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but it just ain't for me. Yeah, I mean, if Subaru's your thing, it's your thing. But there's a reason why most technicians don't like them. They're just, to me, they're not a very well-made vehicle. And that Mr. Subaru clown, in general, he ruined Subarus for me. You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say I liked Subaru until I met that, or until I seen that guy on here. Once I seen Mr. Subaru on here, I don't like anything Subaru or Snap-on anymore. He immediately turned me completely biased against Subaru and Snap-on. Can the condition of both batteries on my Maverick be displayed either on the screen or a heads-up display? Huh. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that answer. 2019 F-150 2.7 liter transmission skid plate felt deal fell off. Should replace, and if so, what would you recommend? I don't offer. Leave that thing off of there. Don't put that thing back on there. Leave it alone. mean, the guy, Mr. Subaru, he just talks shit to so many people. He just makes people feel stupid because he doesn't like the way they explain something or the way they use a tool. I remember on TikTok, this idiot had something to say about technicians in general at the Subaru dealership or whatever, and he's trying to alienate technicians. And I called him on it, and I let him know how stupid he sounded by saying some of the stuff he said. And you know how on TikTok it's real easy to stitch somebody's video and call them out on stuff. So I did. I called this dude out hard. I made him look like a fool. And he came to my comment section and he's like, "Oh, I never said that. I never said this. I never said that. I never spoke badly about technicians." I'm like, "Bro, you did. And you're a clown. You know it. You clearly did that." And then all of a sudden, block, 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 block. And people are like, "Yeah, that's what that dude does. He will go start crap with people on social media and then he'll just go block everybody. So his word is the last word and then you can't say nothing else to him." That's how he is. And I was even talking to the social media lady from Koken at SEMA, and I was like, "How do you feel about that guy talking trash about other tool companies and stuff like that and trying to compare Snap-on and Koken to everything else in the world?" And she said, we really don't like when people do that stuff. Our tool speaks well for itself. We don't need somebody to go out there and trash and talk bad about another tool. Just use our tool and it will show you itself that it's a quality tool. And I thought to myself, how professional. What a professional lady she is. Just just point blank. I don't want anybody to go talk bad about another tool. That's not what we create relationships with our influencers to do. We want them to just show our tool, show why they believe in it, show what it can do. But don't go talk bad about other tool companies. And Clown Subaru with his annoying ass Scotty Kilmer type voice, there you go. He does that clearly. The dude's a clown. Sorry to ask two questions. You ain't got to be sorry. You ask as many questions as you want. I may not answer them all, but you can ask as many as you want. What is your favorite oil wrench for Toyota vehicles? With the plastic canister instead of the spin-on filter. Cheap ones from auto parts stores or a specific brand. If I'm wanting a metal oil filter wrench, I like the CTA ones. But if you look at jm3oilfilterwrench.com, they can custom make you one to use on their stuff, on the Toyota stuff. But if I'm wanting a cartridge style one where I drive off of a ratchet, the CTA ones work pretty good. When you put the strut spacers on your truck to level it and you turn the top plates 180 degrees on the struts, would it be safe just to move the angle of the bottom bolts? You can't. You can't. It's a bushing assembly and everything that's pressed in there. And when you go to start tweaking those bolts and moving them from one position over to the other, you can hear and feel that rubber bushing starting to rip. So what somebody did was they popped up in the comment section. They said, "Hey, the next time you do one of those level kits, take the passenger side, because when you do a level kit and the bolts kick in like so, and you have to spin the mount, all you got to do is take your driver's side, put it over on your passenger side, and your passenger side, put it over on your driver's side." He says it's a direct swap. He said, "I've never had to rotate the assembly like you did. You just made the job 10 times harder. I put my mount on my passenger side, moved it over to my driver's side. The bolts pointed right back in where they needed to be, and I took my driver's side and moved over to my passenger side, and I didn't have to do all that stuff." And I was like, "Huh, that's kind of a neat trick. I didn't know that. Thanks for teaching me. Hi, Rich. Seeing nice Panther body examples going through some impressive prices right now. If you got a nice one, you got lucky. Yeah, I got two nice ones. So, do you think full synthetic oil brands the same? No. Uh, all full synthetic oil brands are not the same. The base package and some of the additive packages are similar, but no. Like for instance, I have Valvoline Extended Performance that has double, if not almost triple, the additive package that all these other ones have right here. So they're not the same. And Motul back there, XP8 here, Schaefer's 9000 there, XP HPS there, Kendall Titanium there. They're not the same. Yes, you can with a bench. I've done it. Just swap the freaking struts from side to side. If you can do it that way, do it without having to crank those bolts back and forth, because you may end up bending one of those bolts that go through that through bolt assembly that goes through the bushing. Just because you've done it doesn't mean that you should continue to do it. How do you think Full Center? What does it say? You never heard of his channel? Well, I'm surprised you haven't heard of his channel. He's got his Mr. Subaru channel, and then he's got another channel that he has. I think it's his own personal channel where he talks or he walks around and shows everybody all the money that he's made off of social media and how he provides this farm and this little bobcat single clown excavator looking thing and everything else he's got. So, yeah. Is the capless fuel system a safe, reliable design? I heard they can leak, can contaminate enter this. Well, not. I mean, yes and no, Trevor. I mean, it's this capless fuel system has been around since that long, so it's normally we don't really have problems with them. He's the biggest Harbor Freight hater. Oh yeah, of course he is. Good morning. Oh, and a 22 F-150 rear drive shaft surface rust. Should I worry? No, they all have it. Clarence, they're coming right from the factory with surface rust. Get you a can of AMSOIL metal prep, or go get you some blaster surface shield and undercoat the bottom of your vehicle with that oil-based undercoating instead of the rubberized stuff. Rich, you changed my mind on dealership technicians. You showed me that they're quality technicians in the industry. What's
I'm
up?
running up to the store.
Okay.
In like a couple minutes.
Have you ever heard the Super Duty clunk at startup 17 to 20 miles? Yeah, it's a CDF drum. The F-150s do it too at startup. And then a lot of people go to try to take off super early before letting the torque converter prime all the way. And then they've got this delayed takeoff. You got to let the truck sit there and run for a couple minutes, let the torque converter fill up completely, and the clunk on startup is a 710 CDF drum. It's priming, and it makes that drive shaft boom, clunk. You can do it with the remote start. You can do it regular start. You can do it with the F-150s as well. Yeah, it's unfortunately normal. Not only does he give out a lot of bad information, um, he just is a very, very disingenuous, cocky person. I'd love to see him in real life just so I could tell him how stupid he sounds. He's just a condescending prick is what he is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. He just makes a lot of people upset because he deliberately talks down to people, and he's the one that sounds like an idiot. Does the 3.5 EcoBoost have any problems 2022? I don't know. I mean, yeah, they have their little recalls here and there, but it's a 22. We ain't going to see problems with those already. Not like you would expect, not like you would really want an answer for, I should say. Why do the 2015 to 2020 F-150 5.0s use such low cold cranking amp batteries? The OEM 610, my old 2000. Because the alternators back in 2000 were not as, or the starters back in 2000 were not as efficient as they are today. They're getting more torque with more windings and stuff out of it, not needing as much cold cranking amps. And when you don't have a remote or a auto start stop system, you don't need that extra reserve capacity that you would get from an 800 cold cranking amp AGM battery. There's no need for it. If you don't have an auto start stop system, or you're not running extra accessories off your truck that need reserve capacity, then you don't need an AGM battery. Hey Rich, how are you mixing the Marvel Israel? It's 4 ounces for every 10 gallons of fuel, or 20% of your oil replaced with Marvel Mystery Oil. Is mechanic in the bottle any good? I use it, it worked. Or I guess you could say it works a little bit, but I can't really say too much on it. How can we get PCED manual? How much would it cost? You gotta subscribe. You gotta get a hold of Ford and pay like $1,000 or something, or $1,500 a year. Or you can try to find somebody that produces a regular manual. What kind of mods can you do with a 21 Ford F-250 XLT 7.3 with foreskin? Seems like most of the popular mods are for diesel. Well, they are. All you can do is interior mods and lighting mods. That's it. I mean, outside of that, you're going to have to... Everything that you're going to do outside of that is going to be all with tuning. What's the best fix for a rattling flex pipe aside from an exhaust clamp? An exhaust clamp. There ain't no other way to fix it. Or weld it and hope the weld doesn't break. Put an exhaust clamp on it and be good. Or not an exhaust flex pipe exhaust clamp, or a hose clamp. Get a big enough hose clamp. And what are we talking about? What's the application and where do you think it's rattling at? I watched him for about 30 seconds and had to turn it off. His voice was like nails on a chalkboard. Absolutely. The dude's voice is, I mean, it's unreal, man, how many people want to sit around and watch this guy. 2008 Silverado. Slight clicking sound when I'm going 20 miles an hour. No, I don't. I don't do a lot of interior work. I just recently started doing interior work on the Silverados and Sierras. Well, our Sierra, we have an '07. Maybe if you stick around long enough, we might do something with the dash or something in the future. But as of right now, I've never done it, so I would only be speaking in speculation. So I can't tell you. What should starting pay be for a beginner technician with trade school certificate and ASE certification? Somewhere around $20 an hour. 18 to $20 an hour is what they normally start out in this industry. Does the 10 on 140 have 3 overdrive gears? Oh, Trevor, I'm not a huge trans guy. Like, I am kind of a trans guy, but I ain't a huge trans guy. 3 overdrive gears. Why does that sound familiar? Huh. I don't know why that sounds familiar. Valvoline Max Life? That's what I use. I use Valvoline Max Life for the transmission. So you use thicker oil over 200,000 miles on a 5.3? It all depends, you know. I've had guys that they go to a thicker oil and they notice they got less engine shearing and stuff, or less oil shearing, and the engines are much, much, much quieter. But also at the same time, you have to realize that a thicker oil getting sprayed into an area is going to move slower, and it's going to get out of that area faster, which means it's going to reduce heat dissipation as well. So that heat is going to stay in those areas longer. So you might be quieter, it might shear less, but a thicker oil going in and slower out is going to cause the heat to increase in those areas. And it's going to cause the rotating assembly to move just a tad bit slower, affecting fuel mileage. So it all depends on what you want. I know a guy right now that's got a 2012, 2013 3.5 or 3. It's the naturally aspirated V6 with 440,000 miles on it. And from day one, he run 15W40 in that truck. He doesn't run anything else other than 15W40. But he's not concerned with fuel mileage, and he's never put a timing set, never been in the front cover of that truck, nothing at all. And all he runs is 15W40 in that naturally aspirated V6. Diesel 15W40. Um, hmm. Hi, Rich. 15 F-150 idles slightly rough after it's warm. No engine light. 160,000 miles. I do plugs about every 60K. What else you got going on though? You do clean the throttle body, make sure air filter's good, PCB is good. You do all the other maintenance that you're supposed to be doing with that. I know when I called Max Life, they said if you can put transmission fluid in something and ours won't work and something happens, we guarantee that we'll fix it. So you're gonna have to. I would get a hold of Valvoline and talk to their Max Life department and pick their brain a little bit. But they claim that it's compatible with pretty much anything. Well, Rich, they talk about that clunk on startup from the drive shaft with the remote start and normal. And a lot of people have been on me asking questions about that for some time. And I went back to the drawing board and I started talking about things and I started remote starting these trucks and I started looking at what it was going on and I started to see it happening. And I was like, that's weird. And I had the trans guy come out one day and I said, come out here and look at this with me. So I was standing 30, 40 feet away from this truck and I remote started it. And I said, watch the drive shaft. And it went boom. And he said, huh, let's go back in there and look in the service manual real quick. So we started going through a service manual. We were looking through all this. And there was a section right in the literature that talked about the CDF 710 drum or the CDF drum priming on startup that would cause that initial boop, boop in the drive shaft. And that was a normal condition with Super Duties and with F-150s. What is the solution for a 2017 F-250 death wobble? Dual steering stabilizers from Fox or Bilstein. Don't use the OE ones. Go to an aftermarket dual steering stabilizer setup and it will never happen again. You have a slight clunk in your 2008 Chevy Silverado in second gear. I don't know. When's the last time you serviced that transmission? I mean, it could help, could make it worse. Oh, my thoughts on the new 5.0 oil pump driven belt. Huh. I not a huge fan. Um but we've had no problem, so I really can't say nothing. We Part of the reason why I don't like it is because we had such a bad experience with the 1.0 liter EcoBoost and that oil pump oil drive system failing all the time. Who is the guy I was talking about? Mr. Subaru, Mr. Clown Subaru who has his name on here is Mr. Subaru, and he's always trying to correct everybody with everything that they say. I remember Flying Wrenches did something about a funnel that he got from Mac, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got this funnel that Mac makes or whatever." And Mr. Subaru was like, "Yeah, okay, nice try, guy. Yeah, Mac doesn't make that funnel. VFM or something makes that funnel." And I'm thinking to myself, are you that petty to where you want to search around on the internet and correct people? You just want to find other technician? He bought the damn thing from Mac. It ain't a big deal. He bought it from Mac. He said Mac made it. We understand that all these tool companies don't make every single tool they sell. Why do you feel like it's up to you to go around correcting people because they're trying to share with their subscribers about a product? Vim makes this product. Mac doesn't make this product. Blow it out your ass, guy. Ford EcoBoost 2.0 BMS reset video you made. So I see in your video you comment about no charging and no lights on dash to reset BMS. Will that help my alternator? Nah, not really. When I say no charging, I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe I don't remember the context, but it will change the charge rate. If the battery starts to degrade and it hits a certain lifespan, it will change the way that it's charging a little bit. So instead of it charging at this rate, it will charge at this rate or something to that extent. There's a whole criteria that's written out on this, and I don't have it all remembered up here. Is Subaru mechanic? Um, I think he was. I think he still is sometimes because he'll do some stuff where people drop off like a vehicle or his own vehicles or something with him. But to say he's a professional mechanic, I don't think he is. I think he's a klutz. Oh, favorite tire brand for all season tires? I don't have a favorite tire brand. I don't care. I just throw them on there. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. I'll find something else that does. What is the correct name for the bucket that sits under the high pressure fuel pump and on top of the lobe? And where can I get a new one? Just Google it, man. I'm surprised that so many of you guys don't use Google at all. It normally pops up right away. If you're looking at a 1.5 liter, it's the 1.5 liter high pressure pump tappet bucket. Just look at that high pressure fuel pump tappet bucket for a 1.5 liter, a 1.6 liter, 2.0. They all show up. They're all in the basic Google searches, and right on top of it, you go to like itasca4parts.com or something like that, and they pop up as well. Or high pressure fuel pump drive bucket. Just it'll come up. What do you think about people buying older, no longer made vehicles and fixing them up? Example, your Panthers. I think it's a great idea. I think they're smart. I think people that do that type of stuff are smarter than the people that are out there buying brand new vehicles. Is it okay to add a battery tender on this AGM bed in the Raptor, or do I need a special one? It charges slow enough where you should be fine, but I do a little bit more research on that. I don't know for sure. I think it charges slow enough where you're fine. 2014 Ford Fusion SE. I appreciate you giving your time. I've always wondered what Ford guys thought about that damn belt. Yeah, I don't like it. If buy a truck with a V8 deactivation to four-cylinder, can this be removed? Oh, it can, but a lot of people don't understand that in the Fords, well, now Ford is doing it in 20. What do they start doing it? 21, 22 with their 5 liter, or 22 with the 5 liter. So Chrysler and GM have had it for years. The selective fuel management, some cylinder DFM or whatever, active fuel management, blah blah blah. Um, I took a range deactivation dongle, just a little box that plugs into the OBD with a little flashing light on the end of it, and I plugged it into the Sierra, and it keeps it in 8-cylinder mode all the time. 2007 was the first year for the AFM stuff with GM, and it will keep it in 8-cylinder mode all the time and not let it deactivate. The problem with that is you still have those lifters with the springs underneath them. So even though you've deactivated that 8-cylinder to 4-cylinder crap, you still have those components in there that can collapse. You still can get a faulty lifter issue in the future. The chances are less, but it's still there. It can still happen. Trucker. Who's trucker? Give me. For a 23 Ford Lincoln Aviator, is it worth putting a oil catch can on? Wondering the system pressurized and something I need to worry about. Thanks for. I mean, putting an oil catch can on anything is always going to keep the upper end a little cleaner. But on these new vehicles, they have direct and port injection. Everything stays much, much, much cleaner than it used to. So to say that is it worth it or not worth it? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Will it help clean it up a little bit more than what it is already being cleaned up? Yes, it will. Is it necessary? No, it's not. You have direct and port injection now. So your valves, the backside of your valves are getting clean. It's kind of a toss up. It's kind of it's up to you at that point, you know. All right, I'm gonna get off here. I've been on here for about an hour and a half with you guys. I'm gonna go hang out with the family for a little bit. Here in a little bit, we got another volleyball game. We got to start tournaments all over again today. It's been very tiresome over the last couple days, but I just wanted to answer some of your questions and stuff, and uh, just kind of see what you guys had going on. And that's it. So take care. If you guys want to do this again tomorrow, I'll do this again a little bit in the tomorrow morning as well. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Happy holidays to you. Be blessed.